Alright everybody, hello and welcome. As always, I am Sean. This is In The Mixer, episode 161 of our Isle of Man series. It's good to be back on the Isle of Man. It's good to be back with the intro as well after a brief sojourn last week with Brighton and Hove Albion for our one season wonder save. Haven't gone to check that one out. You should go and watch it. It was a good week, a good series. We performed well above expectations for the season. And some of the stuff that we actually did in that series, we're going to try and implement into this save now as well. I tend to do that quite a bit. Like when we did our PSG save was where we got our 4-2-3-1 shape. When we did our England save, we changed some of our player roles. And now that we've done our Brighton save, I think we're going to change some of our shape formation player roles and stuff as well, just to mix it up, just to keep it fresh. And if we overperformed with that side, that Brighton team, which was pretty much the vanilla version of their squad, I think with our really good FC Isle of Man squad, we can even go a little bit further and maybe challenge for a title this season. That's the hope. It's episode 161. It's the start of a new season. We've got a whole bunch of different stuff to go through, new faces, new tactics, off-season, season preview, all that sort of great stuff. I love recording these episodes, so let's not wait too much time. Let's jump straight in and see how we've gotten on. So, first and foremost, we are at the start of a new season. Of course, last year, after winning the Europa League 2 seasons ago, last year we won the FA Cup for the first time in our history, which means we are going to get another chance at silverware today in the English Community Shield against last year's league champions, Manchester City. Now, we'll talk about that game, that result, Manchester City, a little bit further in a moment. We've got a whole bunch of different stuff that we need to go through first. The first is our tactic. We're going to change this up a little bit. Now, this is the 4-2-4 or 4-4-2 or whatever else. It's very similar to what we actually did in the first few seasons. If you go back all the way to like episode 1, all the way through to probably about like episode 50, we were using a very aggressive attacking tactic as we kind of flew our way through the lower divisions, just trying to outscore teams. I think what we're going to try and do is bring something similar back. Now, we had used this kind of version, and there's also a very similar version by the Reckonist. I'll put the link in the description below, where he kind of had this like almost game-breaking one. We're not using that exact structure because I don't really like using kind of exploit tactics, but what I do really enjoy about this one is the versatility that it offers. I like that there's two kind of narrow lines defensively in the 4-4-2. I like having the extra bodies in possession, and I like that you get the flexibility of not necessarily needing to have a number 10, but you get inverted wingers pushing into that space, you get deep line forwards pushing into that space. I think for opposition defenses, it creates a weird gap between their defensive line and like the anchor midfielders, or if they're playing like a flatter midfield line, a bit of a gap in between kind of their base midfielders and their defensive line. I really enjoy how this shape and structure seems to exploit this kind of space around the 10. And when we've played with an out-and-out 10, usually there's a person standing in that space kind of making it difficult for people to find pockets here or there. And I also really like having two players playing up together up front. I've been really enjoying that lately. So we're going to try and move towards this attacking structure. It is very attacking and it's very aggressive. We're more likely to win games 6-3 than we are to win them 1-0. That's just the reality of the scenario. I'll go through some of our preseason results and you'll see what I mean. We've also kept a positive structure. This one's a little bit deeper, a little bit more focused on shorter passing and keeping possession. We might do this if we've got like 30 minutes to go in a game and we want to just hold onto the ball for a little bit. We might bring that out. We might also bring it out for like away games where we don't necessarily expect to get as much possession, with the idea that we will try and keep the ball as much as possible away from home. And then we've also got our counter-attacking structure, which is pretty much just getting two deep defensive lines behind the ball, really setting up shop to try and defend a lead for 10 minutes or so. I don't think this is ever going to be one that we start a game with, but it might be like European away leg type deal. If we've got a goal and we're looking to defend that lead, we might drop back and play a little bit deeper and just try and see if they can break us down a little bit further. All of them are using pretty much that half vertical tiki-taka, half gegenpress style. So gegenpress out of possession, vertical tiki-taka once we've won it back to try and drag their defenses out. But I'm really hopeful that we've finally found a balance and a shape that will hopefully push us from being what has been a Champions League qualifying side for the last 2 seasons to being a proper Premier Division title challenger side. And of course, with any new structure, you need new players to go along with it. We haven't been super busy in the transfer market. Just a couple of new faces coming in, a couple of old faces going out. We'll go with the ones going out first. The biggest, and it's a fair bit of cash that we got for him, a surprising amount of cash if I'm being honest. Luciano Fontana has gone for £40 million to Southampton. Now, we picked him up £16 million 4 seasons ago. He wasn't that great a player. He was about 2-star at that time. We did get him up to being a 4-star current ability right back, and he's a good wing back option. Kind of flirted with being a fullback on defend not the most comfortable in the wing-back attack role that we want to be using, and he's not the best in terms of dribbling or crossing. So I thought maybe that's an area that we need to improve. He kind of wanted out anyway. He's wanted out a couple of different times throughout the course of the save and the series. Southampton were willing to come in for him, pay a fair amount of money. I thought £40 million is a really good profit for a player that we're not necessarily looking to use, and they've given him a hefty wage increase as well. So Luciano Fontana, we thank him for his service, but he moves on to Southampton. We will play against him at some point this season. Other one that has moved on, another right back, Lee Dickinson, has left. A player that we brought in from Bristol when Bristol were originally relegated from the Premier Division, £15 million. We have taken a loss, £7.25 million, but it was just a scenario where we've already got actually 3 right backs in the squad. I'll introduce you to those guys in a moment. But we just didn't really need him, and it didn't really make sense for us to keep him around because we were stunting his development. He kind of wanted first team football. He's previously asked to go out on loan. I thought, let's not send him out on loan. Let's just sell him. Let's just get him off the books, not worry about the wages or anything like that. He returns to Bristol City down in the Championship, which I think is better for his level anyway. They can use him as a fullback on defend. He couldn't really do the wing-back role. He certainly can't really do the wing-back attacking role. Not good crossing, dribbling, or really good in possession. His traits are mainly defensive. But he moves on after a couple of seasons, and only 6 appearances kind of goes to show that he was just a squad player for the few games that he played. Joining him on the way out to the door, Michael Fasterman, another player that we've taken a little bit of a loss on. We only brought him in for 1 season. He was playing as a number 10 for us. We bought him for £4 million from Dynamo Dresden in the Bundesliga. He returns to Montreal Impact. It is $3.3 million up front, but there are quite a few different future fees. If he moves on somewhere else, we get 50% of the profit on that. So we may make a return eventually. But again, just a player that we're not going to particularly use. He can play as a DLP. We're using him as a backup number 10. We're not really playing with a number 10 this season, so it didn't make sense to keep him on. And 2-star current ability, 3.5-star potential. It's just an overall drive in our squad to try and get everyone in the squad at least 3-star current ability so that they're ready for Premier Division football, not someone that we're trying to develop for Premier Division football down the track. We just don't have enough minutes to go around at the moment. That's really the problem and the issue that you will have seen. But those 3 out raised £51 million. It's pretty decent for us. We've brought in £51 million worth of talent, so it's pretty much like for like in the players that we've brought into the players that we've sold. We didn't have a whole lot to work with in terms of transfers and stuff like that. We really just wanted to try and strengthen the overall value of the squad, not looking for anyone to kind of like set the world on fire, but we have brought in some good players. The first is Daniel Abelan, a right wing back. Now, we actually purchased him 2 or 3 seasons ago when he was like 15 or 16 from Hoffenheim. £10 million in total, but it was $3 million up front and $7 million over the next few seasons. We've actually already paid him off entirely. I think we must have bought him when he was 15 because we haven't got any future fees coming out for him. He's developed nicely at Hoffenheim, not made any first-team appearances for them, but he's still a wonder kid. He's got okay technical attributes, okay mental attributes, good physical attributes, 18 acceleration, 16 agility, 19 natural fitness, already jumping out at you, 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential, and he's already 6 under 21 caps to his name despite only being 18 years of age. I think he's going to continue to progress and continue to be quite good. He won't start. We do have a starting right back that we are going to try and develop a little bit further in that position. But again, he's comfortable in the wing-back attack role. Crossing and dribbling is a little bit better, tackling technique a little bit better as well. One for the future, definitely, but one that I think will develop into quite a good player. He's not the only German right back that joins us. There's another one that we're going to introduce to you guys now. He won't show up in the other list because we actually bought him last season and then sent him out on loan as part of his agreement. And as we adjust his player face there, courtesy of Chilled Moose, link in the comment section below or in the description below, he joins us from Borussia Mönchengladbach last season, and we actually sent him out on loan for 6 months to Nuremberg in the Bundesliga where he made 9 appearances. Really, we brought him in at a time when we didn't need him. It was just that he, again, had been purchased like 3 years prior, turned 18. We were able to get him in late in the January transfer window, but it was too early to get him really involved in first team football, and we still had Fontana there. We didn't have him registered. It was a whole bunch of other stuff, but he can play wing back on attack as a default role, which is why we're going to try and give him some more football this season. Again, 2-star current ability, 5-star potential. We're hoping he'll grow into that over the course of the season. Crossing's okay, dribbling's okay, tackling technique are both good. Physical and mental attributes are solid as well. But again, one for the future. He'll operate as the backup on that right-hand side. And another German joins the rank. We've had a good run of German players in the side. We had the likes of Franz Wolf back in the day, anchoring our midfield. We had Uli Schäfer, who was fantastic for us last season. Hopefully, these 2 German right backs, both under 21 internationals for the German national side, will continue to grow and develop. And again, like 10 million, it's not that much. I think we can get that back for them in a couple of seasons if we don't see them develop the way that we necessarily want them to. So looking further up the field, one of the players that we've added, and we have actually gone out and paid his release fee, £35 million, is Bruno Castro, that you can see here, who joins from Standard Liège. He's actually, I think, a very, very good player. I'm glad that we picked him up. There were different clubs that were in for him around a similar time. A lot of the Italian teams, Juventus, Milan, Inter was in there as well. He's been playing for like a good 4 seasons in Belgium and has developed quite nicely. Had a really good season last year, 7.59 average rating, 11 player of the matches, 9 assists and 9 goals in that period. And he looks to be really, really tidy. He's an inside forward on the right-hand side, so he's good with his right foot, decent with his left foot as well. We're probably going to use him as an inverted winger on support. I think last season we did lack that a little bit. Like Lucas Gabriel was good on the right-hand side, Frank Richards good on the right-hand side, but really they want to be wingers. Because we're making that structural change, we want to try and get someone that's cutting in a little bit more and trying to get runs toward that number 10 position. But he looks to be absolutely phenomenal. 16 corners, 17 dribbling, 17 first touch, 16 free kick taking, 17 passing, 18 technique, good mental attributes, 16 off the ball, which is the only key one that he needs for that inverted winger role, and wonderful physical attributes, 18 agility, 19 balance, 16 pace, 20 years of age. It's kind of a little bit on the older side in terms of what we usually get in terms of young players, but 4-star current ability, 5-star potential. I think he's already set up to be a fantastic player for us, and we've got him on a few years contract as well. There's no crazy release fees or anything in his deal, which I'm learning my lesson about, having lost a couple of players to those throughout the course of the save. I think he's going to be a fantastic player for us, and he's another Spaniard. We've had great runs with Spaniard players throughout the course of this save, and hopefully he can be another one to add to the list. And he's also joined by our first Russian, Eduard Kozlov. He joins from Zenit St. Petersburg, 8 appearances and 1 goal during his junior career. Again, pretty cheap transfer. He was on the market, £6 million. It's not that much. And really, it's just trying to bring him in because he's comfortable as a deep lying forward in both roles, support and attack, which is what I think we need to kind of continue to try and grow if we're making this change to our tactic and to our structures and to our player roles. But good technical attributes, all of them above 14 for what we need, despite only being 19 years of age. Good mental attributes as well, all of those over 13 at least. Decision making, off the ball, teamwork, they'll come with time. And physical attributes very good as well. So low risk, only £6 million spent. You would think he's already £8.5 million value. You'd think if we need to get rid of him in a season or two, there'll be a Russian team out there that'll pay £10 million, maybe £20 million if he's developed the way that we want him to. And again, already a wonder kid. Always good to get a wonder kid for under £10 million. Again, a long-term deal, not a whole lot of wages, only 40k a week, which is great. He'll join and be like a backup number 10 for us in that position. So again, not that many new faces. I think the interesting part will be that we've jumped from having a squad of 22 to a squad of 24 for this season. We've got 3 right backs effectively. The other one that I didn't mention is Lucas Gabriel. We of course used him as a right winger last season. We're really going to try and develop him into a wing back on attack. He's got all the key traits that you need. Tackling isn't great, but we've got him on an individual training regime. His mental attributes are all great. His physical attributes are all great. He can do everything that's needed for the role. So really, it's just now about getting him comfortable in that role and in that position. And I think that's who we're going to start with at right back. The 2 Germans that have joined, Yilmaz and Abelan, will be backups. Abelan's also got a couple of different teams around him. Looking at a loan, we might send him out on loan if a right team's going to come in. But good get depth there. We've got 5 strikers at the moment. We should probably talk about Hisham Haji. We're trying to repurpose him. He was a number 10 for us last season. He was fantastic and had probably his best year for the club thus far, 7.18 average rating. But given that we're not really playing with the 10 moving forward, we're going to go with 2 up top and we're going to go with like those inverted wingers. I'm going to try and repurpose him to be an attacking player or a little bit further forward as a deep lying forward on attack. If we look at the key traits for that, again, like 17 first touch, 17 passing, 18 technique. Technically, he can do everything we need a deep lying forward to do. Mentally, very good at all of the key ones. These green ones here, 14 is the lowest that he's got for those key attributes. No physical key attributes, so that part doesn't really matter. You can maybe say his finishing isn't that great, but he can do everything that we need him to do for this deep lying forward role. I'm hopeful it will be an easy transition to try and push him a little bit further, having playing as a 10 and make the most of him. Now, he has wanted to leave for a little while. Man City were sniffing around him at the end of last season and in the off season. If we get a bid of £100 million, I will accept it. That's the commitment that we've made to him. We paid $80 million for him from Ajax 3 seasons ago, or 2 actual seasons ago. He's been great both seasons since then, but in reality, like, we're making this tactical change. He might be someone that is actually a casualty of that adjustment, but I still want to try and play him. I still want to try and get him out on the park as much as humanly possible, and I'm hopeful that he can play a little bit further forward and develop the same level of performance, the same level of understanding as that he's had in previous seasons. And you know what, 13 goals and 74 appearances for an attacking midfielder, that's not that bad. So I think playing a little bit further forward, he can chip in with goals here, there and everywhere, or at least get us assists, be that creative player. That's the hope anyway. We have held on to Pablo Rivera, which is fantastic. Again, off season where Liverpool just kept, kind of testing the waters and their players coming out and saying they wanted to sign him. But we have kept hold of him again. There is still a few days left in the transfer window. It'd be interesting to see if he hangs around. But he's been magnificent for us. 71 goals in 140 appearances. Again, didn't have the best season last year, only 14 goals in 33 league games, but I think he can get back towards being that 20-goal a season striker that we need him to be if he has the right support around him. And hopefully this formation, this shape, this attacking structure can try and bring the best out of him again. And hopefully by playing 2 up top, there's another defender dragging defenders away from him. There's another attacker dragging defenders away from him. That's the idea that I've got in my head anyway. Arnaud Henry has hung around another season. He's the best. He never gives me any trouble at all. He's been magnificent since he joined us as an 18-year-old. He's into his 5th season with the club now. Just some phenomenal average ratings throughout the course of that period for a Premier Division player. I just want consistency out of him. If we get 7.3 as an average rating again this season, I'll be absolutely thrilled. And I think he's going to probably relish playing in a little bit more advanced a role this season, that DLP on support. Esteban's the other one. Esteban is problematic, I'm not going to lie. He keeps going to nightclubs. I don't know if I can bring up the times that I've fined him. Maybe you guys know where that is. If you know where I can bring up the notes relating to when he's been fined, then by all means let me know. That's his injuries. But I think he went to a nightclub in the off season and we fined him again. I think that's the 3rd separate time. Chelsea have been sniffing around him. Man City have been sniffing around him. Southampton again sniffing around him. If we get a bid around £80 million, we paid 60 4 seasons ago. I think we've gotten good value out of him. If we get a bid around £80 million, which is roughly his value and his asking price, we may let him go as well. But he'll likely play as a ball-playing defender on stopper this season. He's not super comfortable in it, but he can do the role. He's experienced at a Premier Division level. He's been a good player for us. He's just, I think, testing my patience in terms of how many chances I'm going to continue to give him. And the other part as well is that there's not a great central defender that we can afford on the market anyway, so we can't really replace him. If we get rid of him, the likes of Isaac Toos, who's okay, comes into the fray in terms of starting positions, or Jamie Warburton, who we've had for a few seasons as well. Again, they're okay players, but I don't think they're players that are going to push us up to being a title challenger side. So we're keeping him around by way of not being able to bring anybody else in for him. There are still quite a few other players as well that have, teams in and around them. Frank Richard is wanted by Southampton. It'll be interesting to see if they actually bid. Uli Schaefer has had Everton West Brom interested in him for weeks. Given that we didn't pay anything for him, he came on a free transfer. If we get a £30 million bid, that might be tempting to try and take that one. And again, he's developed quite nicely in the off-season. 20 finishing now, which is ridiculous. 20 composure. He's continuing to grow as a player. And we might see a bit more of him if things don't work out with Hisham Haji playing as a number 10. So filling in the team as how I think it will look, this is kind of our strongest starting 11 as I'm seeing it at the start of the season. You can see, different to previous years, there's quite a few players that aren't super comfortable in their role, aren't playing in their natural roles. But I think given full years, full seasons, developing, working towards training regimes for these specific roles, playing in those roles each week, we will get quite a few of these to comfortable in their position by the end of the year. Mancini, of course, in goal. He's been excellent for us over the last few seasons. Again, just consistent all the way through. 6.94, 6.86 for a keeper. That's basically a 7 or an 8 because the keeper ratings in Football Manager are so incredibly broken. Paid £40 million for him back in the day. I don't think we'd let him leave for anything less than £60 to £80 million. And it would only be if there was someone else on the market that we could bring in that might get to a level above this. But he's been fantastic for us and will continue this season. Abdesamad had a good breakout year last year. I'm really hopeful that at 20, he's in his last year as a wonder kid. I'm hopeful he can become a 4-star current ability player. If he doesn't, maybe that's a position that we look to strengthen a little bit further. Carlos Andre's been fantastic for us for years at left back. I don't think we're going to bring anyone better than 4-star current ability, so we're going to keep a hold of him as long as we can. We gave him a new contract during the off-season as well, and he's getting close to making a Brazil appearance as well. Lucas Gabriel, we already mentioned, he'll play on the right-hand side. Again, similar. I want to try and get him up to 4-star current ability. He's also working in a new role, already 3-star in that position and that description. So I think he could get up to 4 by the end of the season if we continue to push him at a good rate. Arnaud Henry, we know, is a fantastic player. David Lind alongside him. This might be an area that we look to strengthen throughout the course of the year. Play him as a box-to-box this season. A little bit different for him, but 2.5-star current ability, 3.5-star potential. I want him to hit that 3-star, and we really want to start looking at trying to bring in 4-star current ability players to fulfill most of these roles in midfield. But he's young, he's English, he's in our leadership group as well. I think he's the vice captain at the moment. We'll give him another season and hopefully he can flourish a little bit more in this different role and contribute to some goals this season. Bruno Castro, we already spoke about, already 3.5 star in that role. He's not super comfortable in it. I could see him being 4 star very quickly if he settles well. Paul Harold, another English player, the other one in the lineup. Again, for him, 20 years of age last year as a wonder kid. If he can get to 4 star current ability, that would be fantastic for us. That'll be a player that we can keep hold of for quite a while. But he was great for us last season, had a really good year, I thought. 7 as an average match rating over 33 appearances. Chipped in with some goals, chipped in with some assists, chipped in with some player of the match awards, which is great. Hopefully he puts his foot down, goes to that next level this season. And after paying £60 million, we really want to try and get as much return on that as humanly possible. Up top, Haji, we already spoke about. He'll develop as a number 10, but we do have backup options in the like of Uli Shaper or Eduard Kozlov, who we've brought in. And really, we just want a good creative foil to play alongside Rivera to try and drag defenders away from him, to try and get him more goal-scoring opportunities, because we know he can score, 25 goals a season. We just want to try and get him back to that level for the year. But we've got great depth. I'm really happy if we look at the overall squad. We've got a whole lot of high potential players. We've got a whole lot of current ability players. I think we've got a really good balance. And I think having those 2 additional players, the 23rd and 24th player in the squad, we've got the depth to actually continue to challenge across a variety of different competitions throughout the season. We've got Premier Division football, we've got Champions League football, we've got FA Cup football that we want to try and defend our title in. Carabao Cup, I don't think we've ever gotten beyond the 3rd round because we've never tried to. Community Shield even today, there's a whole bunch of different competitions that we could really try and start harvesting and cultivating as much silverware as humanly possible. Speaking of the Premier Division, we are expected to finish top half again. Last 2 seasons, we've finished in the Champions League spots. I want to try and finish top 4 at least, and I really want to make a concerted effort to push towards challenging for a title this season. I think we have the ability. I think we've figured out a good tactic for this level, and if it worked really well with Brighton, I don't see any reason why it can't work really well with Isle of Man as well. But it's a tough division. As always, there's been a whole bunch of different movement during the off-season. You can see Chelsea have brought in Christian Furr from Leipzig, who we played a couple of seasons ago. Liverpool have spent money. Tottenham have received money from Milan. So, there's a bunch of different players moving in and around for quite a bit of cash. Everton spending big cash, bringing players across from Bournemouth. Brighton have had a couple go out, which makes sense. Elliot Bloor, who used to play for us, has gone to Valencia for big money. Liverpool again spending more cash. Liverpool have spent a shitload of money. Man City, as they so often do, spending quite a bit. They do have the strongest lineup, I think, from the Media Dream 11 perspective. There are 5 different players from Man City. They're probably expected to defend their title, but it looks like United are still the favourites. They've got Lloyd Doyle in goal and Nacho, who's been fantastic over the last few seasons on right wing. 3 players from Chelsea in there as well, for Indicachea and is that Campbell? It is indeed. And then Temperini from Leeds, still in midfield. I'd love to bring him in, but we just can't afford his wages at the moment. Even if you click on any of these players, 400k a week, that's ridiculous. We're still on an overall wage budget of 1.3. So you'd be looking at spending a quarter of your wage budget on one player to try and bring in these kind of level players. So I don't think we're ever going to get to that stage before the save finishes and FM21 comes out in terms of wage parity with a lot of those big clubs. But I think we can definitely put together a squad that is equal to or capable of challenging them in a 1-to-1 game. Alex Neil, interestingly, left Leeds after their championship winning season the year before last. He goes to Arsenal. It'll be interesting to see how they improve. Mauricio Pochettino left Juventus to join Leeds, so he comes back to the Premier Division. We are expected to finish 9th, which is the highest that we've been previewed so far in the off-season, 35-1 odds. There are some good teams in there, though. Brighton have been excellent and spent heaps of money over the last few seasons. Leeds won the division a few seasons ago. Tottenham, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, City and United. All sides that are, effectively top 6 sides in the real world. So it's a big challenge, but a challenge that I think we are relatively well prepared for. And hopefully we can get the season off to a good start with a win in the Community Shield. We are going to let my assistant pick the substitutes for the day. We'll just make sure that we've got all positions covered on the bench. I think that's good balance for our 7 subs. If we look at the match preview, and this is something that I want to try and show you guys more in detail as we move through the seasons. Patrick Vieira's Man City. He's taken over the job this season. What am I trying to find? I'm trying to find our past meetings. I think we've only beat City once in the past, 15 or 16 times, but we've probably played them over the last few years now. We have been in the Champions League for a few seasons. We have been in the Premier Division now for 5 seasons, so we have played them quite a bit. 13 games played and only 1 win during that time. 10 defeats and 2 draws as well. That win came 3 seasons ago. 2034. Fontana and Leicester, both of whom who have moved on from the club, are getting the goals on that day, and Saunders, who probably still going to be in their lineup today, are getting the goal for them. So we really need to start getting consistent results against these top 4 teams, and hopefully we can do that today. So this is the lineup that we're going to go with. Mancini in goal, Abdesamad and Esteban as the defensive partnership, Carlos Andre at left wing back, Lucas Gabriel at right wing back, the 2 Brazilians as the wing backs, getting forward where they can. Henri will play as the DLP on support. Lindell plays a box-to-box, and he wears the captain's armband for the season. Harold on the left wing, Castro making his debut on the right, and Haji and Rivera up top. They are playing a 4-2-3-1 because every team in the Premier Division plays a 4-2-3-1 in this year's game. They have a very, very strong team. It's very, very good. They've got Mamadou Guy, who's a player that we looked at for a few seasons. They've had him now for 2 years and didn't really play him that much last season, but we looked at him back when he was a wonder kid at Bordeaux. Perhaps hasn't quite developed to the level that I think they would want him to, but very good tackling, good ball playing defender as well. 4-star current ability, 5-star potential at 21 years of age. He might get a lot better. Plays alongside Gregory Francois at left back. He's phenomenal. I wish we could have bought him back when he was at Rennes back in the day. He would have been fantastic for us. 14.75 million. That's an absolute steal. They got Brady, who's in the Media Dream 11 for the division. A wonderful fullback, still only 26 years of age. It feels like he's been around forever. Just a beast. Just so many green highlights and attributes here for him, which is pretty impressive. Menegato makes his debut. I think he's joined them from Brighton, it looks like. It is indeed. How much did they pay for him? £24 million. That's pretty cheap, actually, for a player of that quality. 4.5-star current ability and potential. Maybe if I had been on the lookout for a 10, he would have been someone that we went in for. 9 caps to his name for the Brazilian national side, only 25 years of age. Good bit of business for them. Pereira on the wing we're going to have to be wary of. I think he's also in the Media Dream 11. Argentine left winger, 5-star current and potential ability. Very impressive player. And some very impressive attributes. His physical attributes are phenomenal. 18 acceleration, 20 agility, 18 pace. This is the level that we're going to try and get to. Passionately, we're going to say, I know a lot of you have been keen to avenge what happened when we last played Man City, and most have responded positively. So hopefully we can leverage that on our way to a good performance today. And we've had a couple of good seasons. We won the Europa League. We won the FA Cup last season. Can we add the Community Shield to our bow or to our trophy cabinet? And just as I say that, Hisham Haji, back stick, nods one home for the first goal of the season for him. Maybe he's going to hit the ground running in this playing up front position. It's a good backstick ball from Castro on his right peg, and Haji with a lovely nod home. And we get an early advantage in the opening 10 minutes. It's the only shot that either side has had in the opening 10 minutes. Maybe this is a sign of things to come, but I don't want to jinx it. Sports Interactive, if you're listening, I'm staying humble. We're keeping focused. We're not going to worry too much about goals, results, stats, all that sort of stuff. We're just going to try and take it one step at a time. We do have a corner here, though. Haji turns provider in this one. It's a good ball in. It's cleared to Henri at the top of the box. Finds Lind, and his strike is pretty poor, to be fair. Cerrone equal to it. Cerrone is a very good goalkeeper. He's in like the top 2 or 3 keepers in world football. Ball forward here to Pereira. We've got to be careful here. Don't both go to the ball. Esteban's been dragged wide and makes a jumping in challenge. Pereira pinballs it around. He forces a save out of Mancini, and Owens taps home into the empty net. You could tell that one was coming as soon as Pereira picked up the ball. And Esteban, if you can't win the ball, just foul him outside of the box. Yeah, he goes to ground, and Pereira just walks past like he's not even there and does it again. Mancini can only push that one back into a dangerous area, and because the other defender, Abdesamad, had come across, he's wide open to pass into the back of the empty net. Maybe you could say Carlos Andre could have slid in, tried to cover a portion of the goal. But first highlight we've seen for City, and it's first goal. We're going to use Demand More shout with about 10 minutes remaining in the half. And we know their quality. Toby Owens has played in the English national side for what feels like about 10 years at this point. But Pereira did the damage. We spoke about him in the build-up. Ball forward here to Owens as well. And they are very good dribbling. Skips past a couple of challenges. Thankfully, the effort at Mancini was relatively tame, and he saves and holds. They've come back into it a little bit late on. A couple of late highlights, but at halftime, 1-1. 8 shots, 5 on target, 52% possession for Isle of Man. 8 shots, 6 on target, 48% for Man City. I'm going to assertively say we're not doing badly. If everyone continues to work hard, we'll win this. And most have responded positively, but you can see there's a couple of 6.4s out there, a couple of 6.5s as well. Give it 15 minutes before we look at any subs changes. They've made a change. Tadikovic has come off with an injury. Neil Peacock, ex-Isle of Man right winger, joins the fray. And Saunders, who when we looked at our previous win against them, had scored in that match, also comes on. We're through the hour mark, so we're going to make some subs here. And let's just be impartial. Let's just go on average rating. So Harold hasn't had the greatest game. Going to bring on Zuzko Mateo as an inverted winger on the left-hand side. And we're also going to take off Lucas Gabriel. Furkan Yilmaz will make his debut for the club. Let's give them a little bit of a boost. Tell them we've got faith in them. And then we're also going to use a Get Creative shout with about 30 minutes remaining. First highlight of the second half, it's going to start with Cerrone at the back here for City. Ball forward into midfield. Sanchez at the base. Looks for Owens over the top. He's well and truly offside. I'm not sure why it hasn't been brought back. And then it is eventually brought back after a good save from Mancini. Throw in here. Left-hand side for City. Right-hand side for us. Ball back with Sanchez. Good reverse pass to Francois might even be playing as an inverted winger. He seems to be pulling into midfield. Peacock, wide right area. Don't score against us, Neil. And thankfully, he drives that one well beyond the far post. They've taken off Pereira, which is great for us, but they brought on Vasher, who's also in the Media Dream 11. So they're replacing one phenomenal player with another. And we're through 80 minutes, so we're going to hit pause again. We've got one more sub up our sleeve. Rivera hasn't had the greatest game. Maybe we bring on Uli Schaefer, or do we try... Even though he's got a good rating, Haji's not the most comfortable in his role. Maybe I'm going to bring on Schaefer instead as that deep lying forward. Maybe that helps us bring out the best in Rivera at the same time. Let's also use a demand more shout with about 10 minutes remaining. We do have to keep an eye on the time. I think this does go to extra time in the Community Shield if it is 1-1 at the end of regulation. 6 additional minutes to be added on at the end of the second half, which we're through now. So the referee calls full time. We're going to go straight to penalties, which is crazy. So we've got Rivera and Schaefer who aren't bad. Henri's not great. Abdesamad's not great. Esteban's not great. We're just going to set that to auto pick. And now we're just got to keep our fingers crossed. Let's see what we can do. Rivera's not terrible from this penalty spot, but he's not great either. And that's a good penalty though. Hard and low to the left-hand side of the keeper. He did go the right way, but couldn't get anywhere near it. Vasher's going to take the first one here for City on his right foot. Oh, and he's hit the inside of the post. We might be able to get away with one a little bit here. Schaefer now, can he add to the goals? Keep his faith. I didn't realise he was a lefty either. And it's clipped the keeper on the way through, but it has found the back of the net. So we're 2-1 up at the moment. It's going to be Menegazzo, the off-season signing from Brighton, to take the next one for City. Right-footed again, and tell you what, he wasn't miles away there, Mancini. Got a little bit of it before it found its way into the back of the net. So 2-1 our way. Arno Henri steps up, right-footed player, sends it low and hard to the right-hand side of the keeper. 3-1 up. Pressure goes now to Man City. It's Neil Peacock, of course, ex-FC Isle of Man player. What can he do from the penalty position? I don't remember him being great at penalties, and it's an excellent save from Mancini there as well. We're 3-2 up as things currently stand in the shootout. If we score this next one, and it's going to be Esteban to try and maybe make it up to me. We spoke about him continually going to nightclubs. We spoke about how ill-disciplined he's been during the off-season. But if he finds the finish from the penalty spot here, the big Spanish defender, we will have our first Community Shield in the trophy cabinet. And he just blasts that one to the right-hand side of the keeper. It's on penalties, so I don't know if it counts as a win, but I'm going to take it anyway. It's another bit of silverware to add to the collection. In the end, 18 shots, 8 on target, 52% possession for the Isle of Man, 15 shots, 9 on target, 48% possession for Man City. I am going to passionately tell everyone, people had written us off today, you proved them all wrong, and we'll give everyone a bit of a boost as well to their morale heading into the start of the season. So Mancini actually gets the Man of the Match award, 7.4 match rating and 6 held saves, which is very impressive. 4 straight in the shootout and 2 misses to Man City, which is fantastic for us. I'd say in regular play, in the highlights we saw, it was pretty balanced. They maybe had the better chances. Castro made his debut and got an assist with that wonderful free kick in for Haji for the opening goal. Furkan Yilmaz also made his debut off the bench as well. Haji finally scores after 26 competitive matches without a goal, which was ridiculous. And hopefully that means he's on his way to scoring a few this season. That would be fantastic. And we start the season in the best possible position, winning the first trophy on offer for the year. I don't think we're going to win all 5, but we're definitely going to try. I think definitely the focus this season is, yes, we want to make the knockout rounds of the Champions League, but we definitely want to try and maintain a sustained title push in the Premier Division itself. And even though it's on penalties, we know we can beat the likes of Manchester City now, so hopefully we can carry that on throughout the course of the year. So I think we are going to jump forward just a little bit. We're going to try and bring you guys, I think, the Champions League group stage draw, which isn't due to happen for a couple more weeks. It will mean we likely play 4 or 5 Premier Division games off screen and come back in tomorrow's episode for both the Champions League group stage draw and potentially our first Champions League group stage game. I think that draw takes place roughly between this West Brom game and the Everton game. So maybe we bring you that draw, play the game against Everton in the Premier Division at home, and then play the first group game in the Champions League group stages. I think that's kind of a good balance as to where we want to be in the early part of the season, and it'll also kind of give us a chance to recover anything that might happen late in the transfer window. We would only bring players in if players go out. We've only got 12k wage budget and no transfer budget remaining. Maybe Haji has a bid coming for him now because he's just scored in the Community Shield final. Maybe some of these players that have, like wanted statuses next to them get bids coming in. I don't see any reason other than that, like losing a player, while we would try and bring anybody in, but there also isn't that much available in the market for us to try and bring across for money anyway. So I think this squad will stay relatively similar before we get into tomorrow's episode anyway. It's good to be back on the Isle of Man, boys. I don't know how you guys have felt, but I definitely missed it last week. If you want to help celebrate our return, you can drop a like on this video. You can also subscribe to the channel to be kept up to date on all of our future videos as they build up in the release, or as we move towards the release of Football Manager 2021. But more than anything, guys, I just appreciate you all watching. That's the part that means most to me. As always, I've been Sean, and I'll see you all again in the mixer.